Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the Yagara people and the Turrbal people as traditional custodians of Myanjin, the lands on which this project is located and where we meet, work, and learn. We pay our respects to Yagara and Turrbal elders past, present, and emerging. Hello everyone, and welcome to my presentation of the portfolio portion of Assessment Piece 2 of ARCH3200 Design Tectonics for our Semester 2 2022, conducted at the University of Queensland. My name is Leblond, and today I would love for you to come along with me as I lead you on a journey across the collection of Duhigg libraries as we discuss the retrofit and extension of Duhigg North, colloquially known as the Central Library. To begin, I would be remiss to overlook the research I had conducted for the previous assessment piece involving 4 separate analysis pieces, which findings will then help determine the new layout of the current assessment piece. Firstly, the analysis of the Great Court Precinct and its stakeholders through a mapping project as done to understand the primary user base of the Central Library and the nearby areas. A user journey map was also created to help understand the user experience of the site and current building layout. Tasks were given to be followed to meet an end goal with 3 other group members, with each of us giving a separate account of our experiences. Additionally, conventional building analysis was conducted, highlighting the use, materiality, and general orientation of the site and its surrounding environment. And intangible qualities were also considered, such as user experience and indirect environmental factors, such as the loss of navigation, comfort, views, and privacy. Summatively, I found that 6 key findings came from my research. For one, that the Central Library is lacking in both natural light, positive user navigation, and open desk space. 2, Central Library must assert itself and maintain a connection to all of its users, both current and potential. Number 3, levels 1 and 2 only fail to meet a general functionally user-compliant level due to having no overflow levels, which will be alleviated through the removal of the bookshelves in levels 3 and 4. There's little separation between single and group work areas, which leads into similar issues between private and public spaces. And the eastern facade receives large amounts of sunlight, yet this is not felt in the interior spaces. And finally, the far eastern floor of the building contains very little users, despite spaces being available. During the initial brief, we were given these initial documents to consider and implement into our designs, which are to be utilized throughout both the first and second assessments. The key takeaways I found to be essential from each document that align with my proposal are Hassel's goals, being welcoming and inclusive, Campus on Country's open entries and clear wayfinding, Urbis' strategy number 3, which is the expression of legacy, and UQ's development plan to maintain and enhance connections. The goals of my proposal are therefore aimed towards enhancing the library experience through wayfinding, placemaking, equitability, centralization, distinct organization of spaces, and a porous gradient between adjacent spaces. Quickly looking over the program brief then, I've created a layout which can be translated both upwards and horizontally within a plane, with the distinction between the public and private realms remaining separate while remaining connected through either adjacency or function. Still remaining cognizant of the previous assessment, precedent studies and party diagrams were developed and delved into to inform both the function of the space as well as the general shape of the extension and potential retrofit, all then culminating into the design concept of my proposal, utilizing the removable concrete or precast concrete panels of the original library's eastern facade. I pushed them forwards into the site further east to create an opportunity for glazing to be added to the Central Library, a more welcoming and distinct entrance, and a new central wall within the proposed extension. Additionally, 2 atriums were added to the Central Library to allow for better light penetration into the footprints, improve circulation across all floors, and to create a clear spatial and visual connection between the floors. Note the stepped gradient of the floors of the extension towards the adjacent road. Level 2 does not come out quite as far as the other floors. This is done to create a gradual entrance which beckons users inside while still allowing the overall building to maintain its proposed footprint, which asserts itself near the boundary. This creates a buffer zone which proposes a rest area between the street and the access to the extension, which houses both a cafe and outdoor seating before pouring into the central courtyard and Central Library beyond. As a general overview of the site, and informed by the site analysis and design concept, the proposed extension acts in 2-layered effect. Firstly, the extension footprint is nestled against the pathways currently on site, not overstepping its presence. The extension aims to maintain and enhance the accustomed navigation of the site. Secondly, the southwestern face of the footprint is pulled inwards for two considerable factors. Primarily to gesture patrons into the central courtyard, which features the digital screen plastered across the walkway between the central library and the extension, and secondly, to lead users into the now more clearly defined entrance. And now, of course, I invite you all to join me as we embark on our journey across the proposed new central library. We first enter onto the site from the southeastern corner after a hearty lunch with friends at the Union Complex, of course, and are looking to find comfortable spots to set ourselves up for the rest of the day. We just heard that the renovations had completed at the Central Library and are excited to see what the new building has to offer. Approaching the site, we immediately noticed the new extension. The extension is of equal size to the original library, which prevents one from overshadowing the other. The building's form ushers us towards the central courtyard, and the atrium space wrapped in the new glazing replaces the removed panels, revealing the glass elevator and new stairs connecting the floors. We enter and immediately feel a gust of cold, conditioned air. We make our way past the staff desk and reveal that levels 1 and 2 are nearly identical. The floors did function perfectly well. It would be a shame to be rid of them. All of the group areas are taken up, so we make our way towards the new extension from the connecting bridge between the buildings. As we make our way across, we notice that a large screen covers the windows of the facade, with a projector flashing a video across the screen to those sitting in the central courtyard. Walking through the extension, we see the two video conferencing rooms, the kitchen, and the seminar rooms, which all seem to be in use. Making our way around towards the western side of the extension, we see a few available group areas to sit down in. The area is open to the air, and we take a second to collect ourselves. While it would be a perfect place to study, we want to explore the rest of the floors. So we make our way up, using the new exterior stairs on the northern side of the extension. We always thought that Duhigg Lane was an underutilized area, so having an integrated functional element being present will inevitably help. Level 3 is completely changed. The lack of bookshelves certainly helps, although making our way towards the extension first, we see the computer lab. It's good how it's facing towards the west, so no excess sunlight comes inside. There also seem to be flexible studios on this floor too, with folding walls in between them to make one large studio. Stopping by the informal study lounge first, in the central library, we take in the diffused lighting pouring in from the skylight above. Even though it's midday, it's not hot inside with no direct light coming in. There are a few other groups chatting on the sofas, with a few individuals working on the desk by the bookshelf walls. We work our way through the opening in the bookcase and the bookshelf's wall, and notice how well they double as a sound barrier. There seem to be a few individual study booths around the outer walls, much like level 2, as well as a cluster of individual quiet study desks. Snaking through, we make our way up the atrium stairs to level 4. Looking across the atrium and the courtyard outside towards level 4 of the extension. Apparently, there's supposed to be a flexible event space there. Maybe you could hold multiple conferences there at the same time. Stepping off the stairs, we take in the atrium space and the bookshelf walls. The group study rooms are right in front of us to the left. Working our way around them, they act almost like a private pod. With the way the door entrances are accessed, it's as if each has its own hallway, with no overlap with other groups' pods. The wall with the door also features fluted glass, which creates a deep sense of privacy while still letting the light in from the outside. We all agree to set up shop in one of the pods nearest to the atrium, which has chairs surrounding the walkway along it. Finally, sitting into our room, we spend the rest of the day working, taking the occasional break to grab coffee from the first level of the extension. Taking a step back now from our narrative towards the full scope of the proposal, I want to draw your attention to the orthogonal drawings produced, with important elements which I'll highlight throughout. To start, we will notice 5 important factors with the long section from the south, the two atrium spaces in the central library, and the sound baffling spread throughout the ceiling of level 4, the digital screen facade in the central courtyard highlighted in the glass of the connecting bridge, the call-out for the old precast panels and their new connections to the new steel structure, and the step facade of the extension towards Campbell Road to the east. In our eastern section of the central library, we truly grasp the extent to which the atrium and the resulting skylight embed themselves into this design, with a sawtooth roof to accentuate the north-facing windows of the skylight to capture the ideal lighting to be diffused to the atrium below. All these propositions will be much clearer in the sectional perspectives presented later. Moving quickly through the elevations then, we get our first look at the punched aluminum panels present only on the extension. As we can see, they're implemented in a way which gradually introduces them onto the facade, which works in tandem with the additional precast panels beside them, which are identical to those found in the facade of the central library. The perforations in the aluminum panels are meant to mirror the look and feel of the original panels, while remaining lighter and more porous to light, which can pass through them, onto the glazing, which sits behind them. The extension is then seen to be peeling back from the layers of the old central library, of the old central library and revealing the new materials beneath. Think like going from hard to somewhat dense to light and fragile. This can be seen better in the following elevations. And here we can see the new eastern facade of the central library with all of the removed panels being replaced with glazing. And the new extension elevation, which as mentioned, peels back to reveal a gradient of materials, which is also represented here, where we can also see the connecting bridge and the new Duhigg Lane stairs, as well as a new entrance to the central from Duhigg, which is moved to line up with the new atrium space behind. Notably, nothing to the western facade aside from the new sawtooth roof, which houses the skylights of the atrium. And to generalize, my material research was focused on the reuse of the precast concrete panels on the current library facade. This would then imply that we are not producing material, meaning the emissions from the production have already occurred, which of course will still present and steep, which were still present, and steep costs towards the GWT of itself during its production. However, by utilizing the potential for these panels to be reused not only by this proposal, but by other projects in the future, the hope is to begin the conversation around the circular economy of concrete and its potential to be reused and refitted nearly indefinitely. Being one of the most important features of the atrium of the proposal, the skylight system proposed will be equivalent to the Velux Northlight modular skylight system, which takes advantage of the northern light to diffuse the light throughout the space below, which while also not requiring any major subconstruction, which allows for it to be placed on any sloped roof. And also made sure to detail the connections between the old reused precast panels and the steel structure of the new extension, notably taking advantage of bolting connections on the major structural elements to allow for reusability later due to the difficulty of reusing welded steel elements. The cross section of the central library showcases the potential of the skylight into the atrium space, as well as the extent of the sound baffles, which can be outfitted with lighting to maintain a consistent light profile of the ceiling during the evening. Notice the rooms as well of the fourth level. They refrain from reaching from floor to ceiling for two reasons. For one, for the allowance of a buffer between the roof and the floor below, as well as a clear space for circulation and sound to travel throughout towards the baffles. The long perspective section also represents the ideals of the project, which showcases the diffused light of the skylights above the atrium level, as well as the increased penetration of the light in the eastern atrium into the footprint of the building. Note also the step facade of the extension to the east, creating both a buffer zone between the street adjacent the current sidewalk and a gradual entrance past the outdoor seating on level 2 towards the courtyard with the digital screen and central library behind. I'd like to thank you guys for sticking around with this element. Thank you very much for the time given, and I really do appreciate the work that has been put into this course. Thank you very much, and thank you.